Hi there, it's Mimi Leaks. Today we're looking at a lawsuit filed against Will Smith, and we're going to go straight to the complaint. But first, some context. A touring violinist says he was brought on to the team last year and to a major tour of Will Smith's, and then fired just days after reporting a hotel room incident. He claims that he and Smith developed a close relationship and that everything changed after that night, and made allegations of grooming along with other accusations. Now, before the suit was filed, Joseph posted a message on Instagram saying this.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to talk about something really important. Earlier this year, I was hired to be a performer on a major tour with somebody who is huge in the industry. So I was excited, proud of myself for getting the opportunity. Unfortunately, some things happened, and I can't get into the details of exactly what that was because it's already a legal issue right now. But the reason why I'm speaking out about this is because getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that simply for reporting sexual misconduct or safety threats at work is not okay. And I know that there's a lot of other people out there who have been afraid to speak up, and I understand. And if that's you, I see you. And that's pretty much it. More updates to come soon. Thanks for listening.
Smith's attorney has already responded, calling the accusations baseless and saying that the lawsuit itself misrepresents what actually happened. Meanwhile, the headlines flying around are vague at best and misleading at worst. So as we walk through this filing, I'll overlay photos from the concert, the tour, and other relevant pieces of information so that you have better context. Leave your reactions in the comments, and for more content like this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. All right, let's get to the complaint. On the cover page, the lawsuit was filed in Los Angeles County Superior Court as an unlimited jurisdiction case. The defendants, Treyball Studios Management, Willard Carroll Smith II, Does 1 through 50, and the complaint lists 6 causes of action for retaliation, wrongful termination, and 2 high-stakes civil rights claims, the Bain Act and the Ralph Act. As you can see from the summary of action, the plaintiff alleges harassment, retaliation, wrongful termination, and civil rights violations arising from a hotel incident and his subsequent removal and firing. Joseph will allege that he was an employee and not an independent contractor. As for the parties, the complaint lists Brian King Joseph as the plaintiff. It then describes Treyball Studios Management, Inc. as a Delaware corporation doing business in California. Will Smith is also named, as are Does 1 through 50. The complaint also lists the standard alter ego and agency language because Treyball and Will Smith, for liability purposes, should be treated as a single entity, which moves us to jurisdiction and venue. The complaint says the court has jurisdiction, to sum up, because it happened in California, the defendants do business in California, and the alleged harm was felt in California. Venue's proper as LA County because that's where the defendants operate and where defendants' relationship was centered. Before we get to reading the actual factual allegations, let me provide a quick timeline that I just threw up there. The complaint starts their work relationship at November 2024, which was his first meeting with Smith. December 2024 is the first performance the plaintiff was involved in with the team. Then there was a hiatus and tour prep, and March 20th, 2025 is when the Las Vegas incident occurred, which is the core of the case. A subsequent show occurred on the 21st. He was there to support crew. He was sent home and told that they would get with him thereafter. He called on the 23rd, left a message, and then reached the team on the 24th, at which time he learned he was dropped from the tour. All right, let's get into the factual allegations, which I will be reading verbatim. All right, how to turn the heat on. It's a little cold in here. Moving along. Plaintiff is a professional violinist who became employed by defendants in connection with a high-profile live music tour as a touring musician and crew member. Following studio sessions with several high-profile artists, plaintiff was referred to defendants for a potential recording opportunity. 2 reps for the defendants contacted plaintiff about coming out to Smith's personal residence for an introduction. In or around November of 2024, Omar provided plaintiff with Smith's address, where plaintiff met Smith and showcased his talent on the violin. At the same meeting, Smith invited plaintiff to join him at an upcoming performance in San Diego, which was set for December of 24, and ultimately to join Smith as part of his global tour. which is based on a true story, 2025 tour. In December of 24, plaintiff performed at Smith's San Diego show and was subsequently invited by Smith to be more involved with the performances. Smith expressed to plaintiff that he was a valued member of the group and slowly provided plaintiff with additional stage time and features during the course of his shows. Thereafter, Smith invited plaintiff to play on several tracks in Smith's upcoming album, and their relationship grew even closer. Smith and plaintiff began spending additional time alone, with Smith even telling plaintiff that, quote, "You and I have such a special connection that I don't have with anyone else," and other similar expressions indicating his closeness to the plaintiff. Following a 2-month break from the December performance, plaintiff was provided with documentation and touring information for Smith's global tour. The tour would span over several months, and plaintiff was provided with a full schedule for the upcoming performances. In reliance of his upcoming tour, plaintiff advised defendants' representatives that he would be spending thousands of dollars for additional musical equipment, medication, and other necessities needed for the upcoming tour. In March of 25, plaintiff joined Smith for the first leg of the tour in Vegas. Defendant booked rooms for plaintiff, the rest of the band, and crew members, with each individual's room number and confirmation code being sent on a spreadsheet to cast and crew. No other individuals, besides for the crew and the hotel staff, would have had access to plaintiff's personal room. Plaintiff's bag, which contained his room key, was left in a van responsible for transporting all cast and crew members of defendant's team at around 11 a.m. when plaintiff and crew were dropped off at the venue for rehearsal. Plaintiff requested that management retrieve his bag at 3 p.m., at which point management indicated they were unable to find it. At 5 p.m., management returned to plaintiff with the bag, which contained plaintiff's key. On or about March 20th at 11, while staying at a hotel in Vegas for a scheduled performance with the tour, plaintiff returned to his assigned hotel room and discovered evidence suggesting that an unknown person had unlawfully entered it. According to hotel security, there were no signs of forced entry, and the only individuals with access would have been those in the defendant's management team who booked the room for plaintiff. The information was documented by phone calls between plaintiff and hotel security. The evidence included a handwritten note addressed to plaintiff by name, which read, "Brian, I'll be back no later than 5:30, just us," with a heart-drawn stone F. Among the remaining belongings were wipes, a beer bottle, a red backpack, a bottle of HIV medication with another individual's name on it, an earring, and hospital discharge paperwork belonging to a person unbeknownst to plaintiff. Plaintiff feared that an unknown individual would soon enter his room to engage in certain acts with plaintiff. Concerned for his safety and that of the fellow performers and crew, plaintiff immediately notified hotel security and representatives for defendant, obtained photo documentation, requested a room change, and called the local non-emergency police line to report the incident. Plaintiff reported it and followed all instructions he was given by defendant's management team. He filed a full written incident report with hotel security, communicated with hotel management, and offered all information, or to provide it anyway, to defendant. Plaintiff made clear his only concern was safety and that he did not wish to receive any special treatment or compensation. On the next day, March 21st, plaintiff traveled back to LA and did so in order to support the cast and crew for a pre-recorded show. However, plaintiff was told by Tim Miller that it was too late to enter the crew entrance and that they would see him in New Mexico just weeks later for that leg of the tour. On the 23rd, plaintiff reached out to Miller to speak about the next leg. On the 24th, plaintiff spoke with Miller, during which time Miller began blaming plaintiff for the incident that transpired on the 20th. Rather than being protected against further assault and attempting to understand plaintiff's complaint, he was shamed by the defendant and told that he was being terminated. When plaintiff requested further reasoning, Miller, acting on behalf of defendants, redirected the blame for the termination onto plaintiff, saying, quote, "I don't know. You tell me, because everyone is telling me what happened to you is a lie. Nothing happened, and you made the whole thing up. So tell me, why did you lie and make this up?" Plaintiff, shocked at the accusation, had nothing further to say and felt as though the reports, evidence, and turmoil from the night before spoke for itself. As requested by Miller, plaintiff submitted evidence and a timeline of the events that had transpired on March 20th, 2025, attempting to explain the traumatic series of events that occurred that evening. Defendant never made any effort to verify the safety concern and whether it was true or not. One call to hotel security would have been sufficient. Instead, defendant was intent on firing plaintiff because he attempted to report it, or did report it. Miller also indicated, in person and via email, that the tour was moving in a different direction, which was part of the reason for plaintiff's termination. However, following plaintiff's report and termination, defendant hired another violinist to assume the same position on the tour. The hiring strongly suggested that defendant's stated reasons for the termination was pretextual. Plaintiff further pleads that defendant's conduct goes beyond a mere failure to protect an employee's safety or dispute over a claim. The facts strongly suggest that defendant Willard Carroll Smith II was deliberately grooming and priming Joseph for further exploitation. The sequence of events, Smith's prior statements to him, and the circumstances of the hotel intrusion all point to a pattern of predatory behavior rather than an isolated incident. Defendant's actions caused plaintiff to suffer severe emotional distress, economic loss, reputational harm, and other damages. Plaintiff was also harmed as a result of the stress of losing his job, and his health deteriorated, causing major physiological damage. Plaintiff suffered from PTSD and other mental illness as a result of the termination. Okay, here's where the complaint stops telling the story and where legalese takes over, so I will summarize this part. The lawsuit brings 6 causes of action against all defendants, that is, Will Smith and Treyball Studios. And a cause of action is the specific legal claim explaining why the defendant is being sued. Anyway, they break down into 3 flavors of retaliation, plus 2 civil rights and 1 harassment claim. The first is retaliation, which prohibits discrimination against individuals over that individual filing a legal complaint. Joseph says he reported what he believed to be sex-based harassment. Defendant took an adverse employment action by removing him from the tour, then subsequently firing him. The report of harassment was a substantial reason for the firing. As a result, Joseph suffered psychological and physical harm, and these actions were willful, wanton, deliberate, oppressive, despicable, and in conscious disregard, intending to and, in fact, causing harm, justifying exemplary and punitive damages. The second cause, retaliation, is broader, and it's California's general whistleblower law stating that essentially an employer cannot retaliate for disclosing information if the employee believes it is a violation or noncompliance. Here, Joseph says, in simple terms, he reported unlawful conduct during the tour, and they retaliated by firing him to shut it down. Due to this, Joseph suffered PTSD and similar harm as previously mentioned, and the defendant's actions were willful, wanton, deliberate, oppressive, despicable, in conscious disregard, intending to and, in fact, causing harm, and therefore justify exemplary and punitive damages. Third is for wrongful termination in violation of public policy. This is the "you fired me for doing the right thing" claim, and it's called the Tammany claim because it's due to the case law that established it. Joseph says here that he reported a safety threat. He was terminated for it. That violates California's public policy protections. The actions made by defendants caused harm and were undertaken for the willful, wanton purposes previously mentioned, and as a result, he suffered damages. This rounds out the retaliation trio. Fourth is the Bain Act violation. Based on my understanding, it's a civil rights claim focused on interference, usually seen in police misconduct types of cases, but applies based on the retaliation framing if believed to be true. And here Joseph says that he had a right to report safety hazards. He exercised that right. The claim of moving in a different direction was false, that the defendants intended to and did deprive him of enjoyment of the rights and interests that are protected in California law, and used threats, intimidation, or coercion to punish him for it, including firing him and replacing him with another violinist. As a result, he suffered harm to be determined at trial. Pursuant to the code, plaintiff is entitled compensatory and punitive damages, civil penalties, injunctive and declaratory relief, and attorney fees. The fifth cause of action is violation of the Ralph Act. The courts allow Ralph Act claims, though, even when the threat maker is unidentified. Here, Joseph says the hotel room incident was threatening enough and tied to a protected characteristic to qualify as a civil rights violation. The items left behind and the note were explicitly inappropriate and perceived to be motivated based on his sex or perceived sexual identity. This incident, along with the statements by Smith that he and Joseph had a special connection, support the inference made by Joseph of the motivating factor of the defendants. The defendants' actions were motivated by his orientation or identity, and due to the harm caused, he's entitled compensatory and punitive damages, along with statutory penalties, injunctive relief, declaratory relief, and fees. And the sixth cause of action is the harassment cause, and it's the umbrella claim for everything Joseph says created a hostile environment. And here, Joseph says he was an employee based in LA and touring nationwide, and an intruder entered his hotel room, left a note and personal items, and it was reported as previously discussed as well, and the employer failed to take corrective action after he reported it, ultimately terminating his employment. Based on the harm caused, he's entitled here, if believed to be true, exemplary and punitive damages. The plaintiff's prayer for relief asks for special, general, and compensatory damages, punitive damages, attorney fees and other litigation expenses, injunctive relief, as well as any other relief deemed appropriate by the court, and damages as determined by a jury. And it's signed and dated December 29th, 2025. Now, if this case makes it to discovery, we will certainly learn more, but I'm wondering what you think. I personally wonder, of course, if the hotel has any footage or recordings of any sort. It would seem like they would, as well as what their potential liability might be if the hotel room was truly broken into. At any rate, don't forget to leave your reactions in the comments and like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe.